All right. Welcome, everybody. This is our Shelter from the Rain March support group. If you have not been to this support group before, this is a monthly support group that we hold primarily for single parents, but all parents are welcome to join us. This is a safe place. This is a place where we try to empower parents, help them know that they're not alone, and make sure we connect them to community resources. So we'll educate you on different topics. Every time we meet, there's a different topic. And every time we meet, there's an opportunity to connect with other parents. So there may be parents on this call that are here every month. There may be new parents on this call. So there should be an opportunity to connect with people and meet some new people. But this is our attempt to make sure parents have a sense of connection, whether in person or virtual. We usually have in-person meetups about 2 to 3 times a year. You qualify for the in-person meetups if you come to the virtual meetup. So you being here today helps qualify you for the in-person meetups. The next one we'll have will be in July at LifeBridge Church. And we do a lot of giveaways at those in-person meetups, which is why that's the incentive for these meetings. But we are an organization overall that tries to empower single mothers primarily, but also single fathers and single grandparents. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, today is National Single Parent Day. So, woo! Hats off to everybody here who's doing the single parent life. I mentioned before we started recording that being a single parent isn't always something people want to celebrate, but I do think you should take a moment today to celebrate yourself if you are a single parent, if you are navigating doing parenthood alone. You deserve to take a moment for yourself because, as I mentioned earlier, being a parent is not something that was designed to be done by one person. So if you are doing it alone, you're doing things that you shouldn't necessarily have to do by yourself. But because of support groups like this, because of the community we're creating, we're hoping that you don't feel alone. That's a picture of me and my son. Like I said, my son is 24. He's in college now, getting ready for grad school. His father and I co-parent, but his father was in Ohio. So much of his childhood, I did feel like I was doing alone just because we were physically in different states. But I had a big support network of family and friends and church that helped me, graduate from college. I moved here to go to SCAD, get jobs in my field, help my son as he found, his passions and different things. So thank God for that. And I hope that, this organization can be to you what those people were for me. And if anything, you know today that you are not alone. So happy Single Parent Day. You are loved beyond measure. Hopefully you will feel it during this time with us. But God loves you. We love you. And we want to do everything we can to support you. At the end of the support group, we will do a raffle. So stay on at the end. We'll do a raffle when everything is over for a $100 Visa card. You can come pick it up when we're at the diaper bank on Wednesdays. So that's our gift to y'all. If you sign up, you will win a $100 Visa card. We also have other things that we can give away if you sign up for help, even if you don't win. So if you don't win, don't be totally brokenhearted because you can still come by on Wednesdays and get support from us. But we do want to give away a gift today for National Single Parent Day. All right. Okay, so the quote of the day, we try to pick a quote of the day that kind of fits with what we're talking about. So the quote of the day today is child support is the child's right, not the custodial parent's victory. So when we think about child support, I know there's a lot of negativity surrounding child support, but really there shouldn't be. There should be a very mutual, happy agreement that what these two parents are doing is going to support the child. Like everything that we do, whether it's monetary, whether it's time, those are things that are going to make sure our children are set up for success. Um, like I always reference my own story because I can identify with a lot of the struggles that single parents have, but My son's father and I started out very young. I was 16, he was 17. So there were a lot of things, bumps in the roads in terms of raising our son because we were just young. But as we grew, we were able to get to a point where having a blended family was a very beautiful thing. Not perfect, not perfect, but it was a very beautiful thing. That may or may not be your story. But if you can get to a place where everybody's working to make sure that your child or your children have the best support and setup from home, that's all we can do. And like I said, that may not be your story. You may be in a position where co-parenting is not an option. But if you are able to get child support, hopefully this will be helpful for you because even if you can't communicate with each other directly, maybe there's an opportunity for child support. So all of that is going to the success or benefit of your child. All right, and then our section of this support group where we like to connect parents to each other. If you're new to this group, we do this every single time. So you can enter information if you want to. You do not have to, but if you are looking for a sense of community, you can type your first name, the ages of your children, into the chat, your email or phone number, but at least your email, because I email all of the parents that put their information in the chat to connect you all to each other. So at least put your email in the chat if you want to do that and your main need. If you just want to play date, if you're looking for a job, there's many times moms or parents on this call who can help you if you're looking for a daycare. If you're looking for something specific, a lot of times if you put that in the chat, there are individuals on this call that can help you outside of our organization. Or if you just want somebody to send encouraging messages throughout the week, maybe you're in a position where you can't do play dates right now, your schedule is crazy, or you just became a mom. But there might be something you can do in the form of connection, sending positive messages to another mom to help them get through a day. Whatever it is that you need, you can put that in the chat. I will collect those while the speaker is talking and I'll email you all so you're all connected. But if you've done it before, there are new moms on this call. So don't dismiss it just because you've done it before, because there may be a new mom on this call that you want to connect with. But you do not, like I said, have to do that if you don't want to. This is just an opportunity for this community on this call to connect with each other, even though we're virtual. Okay, and then we always like to highlight other groups that meet in Savannah. If you're in Savannah, Savannah on the Move is a group that does walking and running activities on Saturdays. You can look them up on Instagram. Usually, after they do their physical activity, they'll meet for brunch. But we have talked to them before. They're very much so open to moms coming. You can bring the strollers, you can bring the babies. And you can do the exercise part and go home. You can do the exercise part and also join them for brunch or whatever they do afterwards. So that's just one we like to promote because that is connected to health and wellness as well. And then our 2026 cohort interviews are happening right now. So if you are interested in our mentorship program, please go to our website and sign up for mentorships. It should be a quick link on the homepage, so you don't have to look for it. If you scroll down, there are 3 circles, and the third circle is mentorship. You can just click that link and sign up for a mentorship. Once you sign up, you will be scheduled for an interview. You have to interview for that program. That's a 6-month program where we pair you with a mentor. And the first 3 months are fairly intense because we're meeting with you every week virtually. So we want to make sure when we interview you, this is a good time in your life to do that. And we want to make sure you have at least 3 goals that we can help you with. And when I say goals, they need to be very specific, either in the area of finances, career development, housing, childcare, transportation. It needs to be something that we can actively see that we're helping you either attain or move closer to. For instance, some moms have the goal of home ownership. That may not happen in the 6 months that we're working together, but we should be moving you closer to home ownership through the things that we're doing. And then some goals are attainable within that 6 months. Some moms are looking for better job opportunities and they're able to find that during that 6 months. So if you are interested in more help sign up for that program. We're also able to help moms more through that program because we have some funding that is only for that program. So moms who are in that program will get 9 weeks of financial literacy. They will get 10 sessions of mental health counseling. And if we have additional funding, we can help with rent and utility type assistance if you're in that program, if there's additional funding. So there's more we're able to do in that program if you're interested in that, but you do have to commit for 6 months to the educational sessions that we have. All right, and then Motors for Moms is coming up on May 16th. We will have a sign up for that next month. So our presentation next month, we'll have a sign up link for Motors for Moms. We're only allowing parents who come to these support groups to sign up for that RSVP. So any parent can come, for any single parent can come for free, but we will not pay for the meals for all of those parents. So if you're coming to this support group and you sign up for Meals for Moms, we will pay, or I'm sorry, Motors for Moms, we will pay for your meals at that event. So all moms, dads, grandparents are welcome to join us, but we will not have meal tickets for everybody. We'll only have them for the parents who've RSVP'd through the support group. So make sure in April that you join the call and that you sign up through that link because that will only be available if you are in attendance. Okay, and next month, our topic will be focused on financial literacy. Next month is National Financial Literacy Month. And so one of our board members, Andrea Reed, will be talking about investments. So if you're interested in different types of investments that you can make, even if it's not something you can do right now, because there's a lot of things that I would like to do in terms of investments with real estate, that I'm not able to do now, but I'm planning for it. And that's something that I want to add to my portfolio. Education is the first step, knowing what you want to do and how to do it. So when that opportunity becomes available, you know exactly what you want to do with your money. I would like to get to a place where I'm making money in my sleep and I don't have to work. So that would be a great session if you want to learn about different ways to invest. So join us next month on April 18th with Andrea Reed. And then today, very, very excited. I mentioned it earlier. I'm super excited about this support group because we have never in the history of all of our support groups done a support group on child support with I'm like kind of baffled that we haven't done that yet. So
They haven't even started talking about child support yet.
okay, you're just joining, if you could mute yourself. I can't really see everybody right now, but if you could mute yourself, please mute yourself while we are waiting for the speaker. Thank you so much. So we will start today, like I said, with Child Support 101. We have not talked about this before. I will also remind you, if you have very specific questions about your particular situation that you do not want recorded, please wait until the end. We're going to stop recording at the end. So some of those questions that may affect your partner or your co-parent, make sure if you don't want that recorded that you wait until the end when we're not recording. There'll be time to ask Tracey those questions and they're not recorded. This will be on our website and it will be on our YouTube page for parents who need information about child support. So we want to make sure it's accessible to parents who haven't met us yet, but we also want to make sure we are mindful of other parents who are not on this call who may be affected by some of the questions that need to be asked on this call. All right, so thank you, Tracey, for being here. We're about to shoot it over to you. While she's talking, while Tracey is talking, please make notes of the questions that you have. Please make notes of what you learned today. I'm really excited because I'm sure I'm going to learn something because we haven't ever covered this topic with our support group. So I'm really excited to learn something new, things that we can use to help parents that we're working with every day. And then at the end, we will do a survey. So please stay on at the end to do just a quick survey. Was it helpful? What would you like for us to present moving forward in terms of topics? And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are going to do a raffle for that $100 Visa gift card and in honor of National Single Parent Day. So also stay on for that part because I'll pull all the names that are still on the call and put them into the raffle, and I'll spin while we're on this call to see who the winner is, and you can pick that up on Wednesday, any Wednesday that we're at the front porch. You can pick up that $100 Visa gift card. And then our next meeting will be April 18th, 2026. And like I said, that will be focused on financial literacy. We do all these announcements at the beginning, so we give moms time to get on this call. So hopefully everybody who's going to be on this call is on this call and they haven't missed any of the main presentation. And then again, we also put this presentation on our website and on YouTube. So if you got here late and you're like, oh, I missed half of the announcements or all of the announcements, you can always go on our website. It's on the same page that you RSVP, and it will also be on YouTube if you missed any of the announcements that I just made. So I am done. If you can save your questions for later or put them in the chat, I can answer you in the chat. If you have questions about anything that I just announced. And like I said, if you have personal questions that you don't want recorded, please wait until we're not recording at the end for Tracey if you have child support questions. All right, Tracey, I'm gonna hand it over to
All
you.
right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank Jennifer for inviting me here today to talk about child support. I find that in the community, there are a lot of myths and misrepresentations about child support, so I'm hoping I can clear some of that up today. And also, thank you to everyone for taking time out of their Saturday to come and listen to me talk. I'm Tracey Erwin. I'm the director of the Chatham County Child Support Services Office. I have been with the office for 24 years, and I've been the director for 5 years. So I have a good understanding of child support. So we'll get started with Child Support 101, what every parent needs to know. Okay, so Stronger Families for a Stronger Georgia, that is the vision of the Department of Human Services, and child support falls under the Department of Human Services. So we always like to share our vision when we do a presentation. This is our agenda for today. First, we'll talk about applying for services, establishing paternity and an order, enforcement, review and modification, outreach services, and then we'll have time for questions. So let's start with applying for child support services. So when we talk about applying for services, that's what's going to initiate the child support case. And either party can apply for services. So the non-custodial parent can apply or the custodial parent can apply. If the non-custodial parent applies for services, the custodial parent will be sent paperwork to confirm acceptance of the case. If there's domestic violence or family violence, you can claim that there's a good cause not to open a child support case. Although we want both parents to be supporting their children, we do understand there are circumstances where that's just not appropriate. Um, if you are saying that there's a good cause not to have a case open, you will be asked to provide proof, police report, protective order, something like that. There is a $25 application fee that's due by money order when you apply for services. It's gets you everything. It gets you your case, your order, any ongoing enforcement actions. So it's a lot less than paying an attorney for sure. There are some exceptions to the fee. So this one's very important. I'll probably say it twice just so everyone understands. Grandparents raising grandchildren do not pay the fee. So if you're a grandparent raising a grandchild and you want to apply for child support services, you do not have to pay the fee.
And that was my question, not the fee, but can grandparents apply for child support?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
And really anyone who has custody of a child. We have a lot of situations where family friends, aunts and uncles,
Great.
anyone can apply
Okay,
as
awesome.
long as they have a minor child that they're taking care of. If you receive TANF or a certain type of Medicaid, which is parent caretaker with child Medicaid, you do not pay the fee. Um, we have an online application and a paper application. The online application, although that might seem easier, is actually considered a referral. So I would encourage you, if you're applying for services, do not fill out the online application. We will send you the documents in the mail to complete the paper piece that you've already done online. I would be very frustrated by that. So I would only want to fill out the paperwork once. And since I have to do it on paper anyways, I would rather just do it on paper. So I encourage you to do the paper application as opposed to filling it out online. Once your application is processed, an agent will reach out to the non-custodial parent to inform them of your case. We do not release any personal information, addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, your children's birth dates, which of course, if you're the mother or father applying against the other parent, they should know the birth dates themselves, but they often don't. We do not release any information about any of the parties to any of the other parties.
And you can, Jamaica, if you want to ask a question about the application fee, any question y'all can ask now. We just ask that the questions that might be sensitive about the other parent or anything that would affect their other parent, just save those for last. But if you have general questions about application fees or anything like that, you can drop them in the chat or you can come off of mute. Is there a general application
Ye-
fee, Tracy, or
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
go ahead.
Um, I was trying to see. Okay, so I heard her say something about the if you have Medicaid or TANF or something like that, the application fee will be waived.
Oh,
Um, if because when I applied one time recently, they didn't waive it. So is there a certain type of Medicaid that you're supposed to have, or
There is, yes. So there is a certain type of Medicaid, and it's called parent or caretaker with child Medicaid. So both you and your children would be on this Medicaid, and it's a needs-based Medicaid. So it's a very particular kind of Medicaid that allows the fee to be waived. So it may have been that you were not receiving the specific type of Medicaid that was needed for the fee to be waived.
that's a great question, Jamaica. Thank you. If anybody else has questions like that, please ask them because it will probably help other parents too. Because I wouldn't have known that, and that's really important to know.
It is, and I will say, when I was going through preparing my notes, I think there needs to be a child support 101 and then a 102 and a 103. It's a lot of information.
Yeah,
And so I tried not to be too overwhelming. So please don't hesitate to ask questions if there's something you don't understand or something you think I may have not mentioned.
yeah.
For the application, if you want to bring your application to the office and wait for it to be processed, you can do that. It will take 1 to 2 hours. So you would have to sit with the agent who's processing your application, putting it on the system, adding everything on in terms of our data. This is what's called same day service. So we do offer that if that's what you would like to do. If you don't want to wait, you can put your application in our Dropbox or mail it in. If the non-custodial parent lives in another county, that county will handle the case. If the non-custodial parent lives in another state, that state will establish and enforce the order. If you have an order, say you're divorced and you live here and the non-custodial parent lives in Florida, we'll ask Florida to enforce that order for us because we can't cross state lines to do enforcement. And some of the actions we take, are effective, but a lot of them would not be effective with somebody living in a different state. Child support's a federal program, but each state has their own policies and procedures. So we can obtain an order for you. Or you can apply with an order, a divorce order, legitimation, etc., and we'll enforce it for you.
So, Miss Tracy, what you're saying is if good morning, I'm sorry. If the father is in another county in the same state, I can apply in Chatham County. You
Yes,
guys
ma'am.
would just transfer it to Muskogee County and they will handle it from there. My next so I'll be waiting on someone from Muskogee County to reach out to me.
Yes. So if you apply, you bring your application here, we will process it for you. We will mail it to the county where it needs to be. But we have access to now that, yes, they will reach out to you, but we have access to all of the child support cases through the state of Georgia. So you don't have to necessarily go to Muskogee County with your questions. You can come into our office and ask questions. Or if you sent an email to our office, we would forward it to their office. But if you come into the office, we're going to look at your case and do whatever we can to help you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was an excellent question, too.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to establishing paternity. So once you apply, we're going to look at paternity. So there are some circumstances where paternity is considered established. Adoption, if the non-custodial parent has adopted the child or children, paternity is established. I'm going to say birth certificate toward the end. You can have paternity established through a court order, divorce decree, separation agreement, or some other type of judicial or administrative order. Marriage, the parents are legally married to each other at the time of the child's birth. The voluntary paternity acknowledgement form. So if the father has signed a voluntary paternity acknowledgement form that is filed with the Office of Vital Records, and that acknowledgement has neither been timely rescinded nor successfully challenged in court, then paternity is established. So unwed parents may complete this voluntary paternity acknowledgement form at the hospital when the child is born. And this normally is pretty standard practice, but I think that during COVID, this didn't happen because people were not allowed into the hospital. So there may be some people who think, well, I didn't ever get this information at the hospital. And if it was kind of during the COVID period, that would be why. And so the form can also be filed later if you don't do it at the hospital with the State Office of Vital Records in Atlanta or the Vital Records office in the county where the child was born. So birth certificates. Birth certificate, a Georgia birth certificate does not establish paternity. Another state's birth certificate could, but in Georgia, it does not. A birth certificate is an official record of a birth that occurred in the state of Georgia. It does not establish paternity in the state of Georgia. And the father's name can be added to the record by one of the following ways. The mother was married at the time of the child's birth. The father signs a voluntary paternity acknowledgement or by order of the court. And then we have genetic testing. So effective July 1st, 2015, Georgia law was amended to require the Division of Child Support Services to order genetic testing in all cases which the paternity of a child or children has not been established or in which the individual receiving services alleges paternity rests in a person other than the previously established father. So if you have, let's say, for example, you are pregnant with the child of man A, and that doesn't work out. And you meet another wonderful person, and he's man B, and you marry him. Man B is legally the father of the child. So that may be a circumstance where you're looking at paternity resting in another person. This law was established in an effort to prevent a non-biological father of a child or children from being obligated to pay child support. Before 2015, when we did our child support orders, we would say to the non-custodial parent, do you want genetic testing? They would say no. They would sign the order. And unfortunately, some years later, some non-custodial parents have come back and said, I've had private genetic testing and this is not my child. So now we do the testing in the beginning so that we don't run into those types of issues.
Can I?
Yeah,
Sorry, can I ask a question?
of course.
Um, let's say, what if the other parent filed for custody and of course they never like there was never a genetic testing done or anything like that.
Mhm.
But let's say later on down the line the case is closed or whatever for the custody hearing because they're not showing up for
Mhm.
the hearings. Um, would them filing and attempting to establish paternity, would that count as them saying that they are the parent?
No, no, there
Okay.
would have to be an order from that action
Okay.
establishing paternity.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
Thank you.
testing is not mandatory when paternity has been established. So custodial parent names her husband and he does not deny paternity. Custodial parent names the father who signed a paternity acknowledgement and he does not deny paternity. Child was adopted. Child was conceived through artificial insemination. There's a court order establishing paternity and or support order exists. The non-custodial parent or alleged father applies for services and paternity has been established. Paternity testing may be requested in cases under these circumstances, but they would need to be ordered by the judge. So the non-custodial parent would need to request that the judge order testing at the point the case gets to court. Paternity testing is mandatory when paternity is not established and no court order exists. For example, the child was born out of wedlock and paternity has not been established. The custodial parent names someone other than her husband, and the custodial parent names someone other than the father who signed the paternity acknowledgement. Testing can be done in the office, at the lab. We use DDC as our genetic testing provider, or in court, and the testing's done with a mouth swab. It's not a blood test.
Okay, we have one more question.
Okay.
I see a raised hand. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is it Kitu?
Yes, hello, hi. My name is Ketu. Thanks for allowing me to be on this call. I'm just still the reason why my camera's off because I'm still dealing with my daughter.
Yeah, no problem.
But thanks. So I wanted to ask a question. So hypothetically speaking, let's just say if man A is there's a child case open for man A. The man A is in a completely different state on the other side of the map. But there is a genetic testing and they get genetic testing and genetic testing is established that he is the father. And then the woman with the child, the custodial parent, decides to go ahead and get married or is in the process of trying to get married to man B, but the genetic testing is established for man A already. And does that mean that man A stops paying child support? I'm just trying to figure out how that works. Or does he still have to pay it even though the genetic testing is there and the court order is there, but the custodial parent, meaning the mother, decided to get married to man B? How would that work? Because I
Yeah,
don't think man A should have to stop paying for his
you are
own
right.
child.
You are right. Very good question. The only time the marriage comes into play is if you are married when the child is born. That's the only time that's going to impact that. When we look at child support, we look at the mother and the father. So if the father has already been determined by genetic testing, and especially if he's already under an order, that order is going to continue. Nothing's going to change. Even in cases of modification, either party's spouse doesn't come into play at all. No one else's income is ever going to be considered other than the mother and the father. So if you have man A who's already been determined by genetic test or some other, court order means of establishing paternity, man A is the father and he is legally required to provide child support through his order.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's talk a little bit about legitimation. So I'm not sure how many people are aware, but in the state of Georgia, fathers of children born outside of marriage, so when the parents did not get married, the fathers have no rights. All the rights are with the mother, every single right. So legitimation is a legal action, which is the only way, other than by marrying the mother of a child, that the father of a child born out of wedlock in the state of Georgia, and only in the state of Georgia, may establish legal rights to his child.
That's only the state of Georgia.
Only in the state of Georgia.
Wow.
Yes.
So we did know that, some of us, I won't say everybody, some of us did know because we had a support group with the Mediation Center.
Mhm.
And Lee is very big on
Wonderful,
the
wonderful.
fathers.
Yes.
So he's always talking about, like, please make sure this happens so fathers have their rights and everything.
Right.
I didn't know that, but I didn't know it was only the state of Georgia. Wow.
Yes, yes. And there is some talk in the legislature about changing some of the laws around this, but nothing's, been
Yeah.
put in
Oh,
place yet.
that's heartbreaking. Okay.
Yes. So without legitimation, these fathers have no right to custody or visitation with the children, although the law says they have the obligation to support them financially.
Wow.
Why is this important? What if something happens to the mother?
Yeah.
The dad has no rights. I have just as much of a right to the child as the dad does. And again, I do want to clarify that I understand there are some personal
Right.
circumstances where this would not be appropriate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for anybody on the call, we do want to definitely put that disclaimer out there. If you're in any type of situation, or anybody watching this later, if you have any type of situation where there's domestic violence, or there's any type of abuse that would prevent you from allowing this to happen, we are very mindful, and our hearts are with you in those situations. We're talking about different types of situations here.
So without legitimation, mothers have sole custody of children born out of wedlock. Also, children born out of wedlock do not automatically have the right to inherit from their fathers. Some things that are not a legitimation: enrolling the child in school, being named the father in a paternity test, agreeing to or being ordered to pay child support, being named in the father's last will and testament, and signing the child's birth certificate. So the non-custodial parent or the father has a right to file a petition for legitimation. And if the petition is granted, they have a right to ask the court for custody and visitation. Mostly what we've seen is visitation, with the legitimation orders we've seen, not custody, but I'm sure there are circumstances where that happens. The father can file a petition for legitimation in Superior Court in the county where the biological mother lives. The mother must be formally notified. That means the father has to have the mother served with the paperwork. And the mother has the right to attend the court hearing. There's filing fees and fees for service, which sometimes that's what's preventing fathers from even taking these actions, is the costs. And also understand that fathers who file these petitions do not have the absolute right to have the judge sign an order legitimating the child. The court will only legitimate the child if the court believes that the legitimation is in the child's best interest. So this isn't, I've seen one recently denied. So this is not an automatic.
The situations that you see denied, are they situations like what we just mentioned? There's a concern in terms of safety. There's a concern in terms of abuse.
Sometimes, but also if if it's maybe later in the child's life and the father's been incarcerated, and now is released and filing with the petition, but has maybe not been involved in the child's life and maybe has not supported the child financially, then sometimes those will be denied as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry.
oh,
Is that so? Is that true for all states, or is that specific to Georgia?
That is specific to Georgia. That I will say, what I find the most frustrating about child support is that it is not a universal system. It is different from
Right.
state to state. And so what we may do here in Georgia could be completely different in South Carolina or Florida or, neighboring states. And that can be very confusing when you're here in Georgia and the other party is in a different state.
Okay.
So I have a question. If a father does get those rights, a judge order for him to be legitimized, does that cuts out the child support for the custodian parent, or does it be like a split child support thing?
So it can depend. So if you have a legitimation order, which is considered a private order, um, the court can order visitation, custody, and child support. In our office, the only thing we're ordering is child support. So we don't deal with custody or legitimation at all. So when you look at determining a child support amount in a private action, not in our office, in a private action, part of what should be considered is parenting time, and that factors into how much child support is paid. But a lot of times, if there's already a child support order in place, not in every circumstance, but a lot of the dads are just wanting to have some type of set visitation.
Right.
And so that's what's being addressed, not necessarily the child support, although it can be. But just because the father has visitation doesn't mean the mother doesn't get any child support. Now, if something was maybe a 50-50 split, it's possible in those circumstances, but that's not necessarily 100% going to happen every time.
Can a custodial parent, excuse me, can a custodial parent request visitation with child support?
So in with the order or just filing something separately?
With the order.
So in the child support orders that we do through our office, there's never going to be visitation in those orders. If you file something privately, if you have a divorce order or some other type of order, then you can have visitation in that order. But at this point in time, the child support office does not address visitation at all, because child support and visitation are two separate issues. And just because you pay your child support doesn't mean you get to have visitation. And just because you have visitation, unfortunately, doesn't mean you pay your child support.
Right.
So it does go both ways there.
Okay.
So who would they contact if it's not through a divorce or whatnot? Is that just getting a lawyer?
So the Mediation Center is an
Okay.
excellent resource.
Okay.
And we do have, which I'll go over their information as well at the end, but we have some outreach services that we offer as well.
Awesome.
So the next step, once you have paternity established, is establishing a child support order. So I want you to keep in mind that child support is a civil matter, not a criminal matter. And I'll mention this several times and explain why this is so important. When you apply for services, if both parties are here in Chatham County, we're going to process the paperwork to schedule a court date when your application is processed. However, due to the volume of cases, it can sometimes take 3 months or more for a court date to be scheduled. So we need to establish an order for you, it's going to be a little bit of a wait. We use the sheriff to serve, the sheriff's deputies, or we can use a private process server if needed, because we do acknowledge that some non-custodial parents are not readily accepting service of child support documents. The state of Georgia has child support guidelines that consider both parties' income, so the mother and the father of the child. So if a grandparent is applying, the grandparent's income is not considered at all because it's the mother and the father who are supposed to support the child financially. There's no retro support in the state of Georgia. So when your order is established, it will be probably effective the month after the court date going forward. It doesn't take into account that perhaps you had to wait 2 years for, the father to be, served and get a court date because he was, unable to locate. It's not going we can't go back and collect anything for that time frame. But if the non-custodial parent is in another state, then that state's guidelines apply, and some states do order retro support. The agent assigned to the case will meet with the non-custodial parent and attempt to settle the case once the court date is set at the court date. If he doesn't settle, if the non-custodial parent does not want to settle with what is the amount in the worksheet, then the case will go in front of the judge for a hearing. However, the non-custodial parent has to have been served 30 days in advance to have a hearing. That allows him the opportunity to review the paperwork and get an attorney if he wants to. So if he was just served 2 days, he or she, we do have female non-custodial parents, if they were just served, a week before court and they don't want to settle, we would have to schedule another court date for the hearing to be held. During the hearing, the assistant district attorney will be present. So we have one assistant district attorney that works solely in our office handling child support cases. And the agent assigned to the case and the non-custodial parent will testify. If the custodial parent wants to testify, she may, but is not required to. What's going to be in your child support order? Child support and health insurance, and a lot of other legalese, because it's about 5 pages, the order is. But so health insurance can only be enforced if it is available to the non-custodial parent at a reasonable rate, which is no more than 5% of gross income through an employer or union. So it's going to be ordered, but we may not be able to enforce it if the non-custodial parent isn't working somewhere where it's reasonable or available. What will not be in your order? Visitation. As I stated before, child support and visitation are 2 separate issues, and we do not establish or enforce visitation. The reason I mentioned that child support is a civil matter is when it comes to service, if the non-custodial parent is difficult to locate, the fact that it's a civil matter plays into that. The sheriff's deputy cannot forcibly enter a home on a civil matter. He has to be invited in. So if the sheriff deputy goes to where the non-custodial parent lives multiple times and can hear people inside and they don't answer the door, there's no recourse for that.
Now, question.
Yeah.
Is that just for the state of Georgia, or is that all across the...
Child support's a civil matter in every state.
So that limitation of them being able to forcefully go into a house or whatever,
Right.
that's all across the board.
It is, yes.
Is
Okay.
that when you guys use a different service to do like if they see them on the street or at Walmart, they walk up and say you've been served? Is that
Yes,
when
that's
you
the
guys
private
enforce?
process
Okay.
server. Yes. So if we know that somebody is trying to elude service, yes, then we will look at the private process server. Private process servers are plainclothes people. So obviously when the sheriff deputy pulls up to your house, you can see that it's a sheriff deputy. When
Right.
the process server comes up to you, you don't know who that person is. They do identify themselves after they confirm your identity. But with all the technology, which is good and bad in some ways, but everyone can see who's at their door with their Ring camera. So some people are going to see a sheriff and they're not going to answer the door. So we will use our private process server, and we occasionally will use an investigator from the district attorney's office as well if we need service that way. And they're also plainclothes, so you would not recognize them as law enforcement.
Is it possible to serve the other parent via virtual or like through the internet? Is that something that you guys can do?
Not for the initial order, no. There is a process in the Rev Mod, if we're doing a review and modification order, where we can serve by first class mail. But in the petition establishing the child support order, they do need to have personal service.
Okay.
Speaking when you were talking about insurance, is it true that if I'm not if I'm not trying to sign up for child support, but I receive any government assistance, say just Medicaid, only Medicaid, um the state will require me to do child support services to offset what the government is giving me for Medicaid, or if it's TANF or whatever government assistance?
Only TANF. So if
Oh,
you
okay.
receive TANF, then DFACS is going to send us a referral. You're not even required to apply. We will still send you the application paperwork because we'd like to get the best, up-to-date information we can. But if you receive TANF, if you already have a child support order and a child support case through our office, and you are receiving that parent, caretaker, child Medicaid that I talked about before, you can't close your case, but we won't
Okay.
require you to open a case.
Okay.
And there
Uh,
was a time, maybe it changed 6 years ago. I might be wrong, but yes, there was a time when you received parent, caretaker with child Medicaid where you were required to have a child support case.
okay. I have some questions in that area once the recording goes off,
Sure.
because I pay child support to my mother.
Okay.
And the kids are pretty much now over age, but there was years of times when I wasn't working, and so
Right.
nothing was coming out. So I definitely have some questions for you where I may
Okay.
have to just make an appointment to come see you.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
of course. I'd be happy to
And
help
Okay.
you.
thank you for reminding everybody, Frida, because some people have just gotten on. We are recording. So if there are questions that you have that will affect another person, whether it's a family member or your co-parent, let's save those for after the recording is over, just because we don't want to create any situation for you or for the other person that's uncomfortable or humiliating to be put on YouTube or on our website, because this is a support group that's designed to empower everyone. But if you have general questions, because some of these questions have been very good, they've helped me. If you have general questions, please ask them, because I do think someone watching later will benefit from some of the general questions that you're asking. So thank you for letting me remind people again, Frida.
Hmm. So one more question, Miss Tracy.
Sure.
If I have a ongoing child support where I pay child support to a grandparent, would that affect me if I've had another child that's underage and want to file child support for his father?
No, no,
Okay.
you can still apply for services, and your child support amount would be based on, your income and the father's income, and
Okay.
that case would not have any impact on you getting child support for another child.
Okay.
Okay, so now you have your order. And best case scenario, the non-custodial parent is employed, and we send an income withholding order to the employer, and payments come in consistently from wages. That's unfortunately not what always happens. So we have some different enforcement actions we can take. We're always going to start with our administrative actions. So we can do wage withholding from wages or unemployment benefits, or if the non-custodial parent receives a weekly workers' compensation benefit, we can also deduct from those. We do federal and state tax intercepts. Now, the non-custodial parent has to file his taxes and be due a refund for any type of intercept to happen. We don't we know that many people do not file their taxes. We do license suspensions, drivers, professional, and hunting and fishing. We do liens on bank accounts and other types of settlements. So we've recently done a couple where the non-custodial parent was refinancing a home and getting some money back from that. And the custodial parent was aware and notified us, and we were able to file liens on that money that they were going to get back. So because they were arrears owed. And we're going to take whatever actions we can to get that past due child support paid. We do credit bureau reporting, passport denial, and lottery intercept. So if the non-custodial parent owes arrears and he wins the lottery, and his arrears are over, I think it's 500, we're going to go ahead and take those earnings to apply to the child support. We can also suspend vehicle registration. It's quite a complicated process, so we don't do that as often as we used to. But license suspension is an effective tool for getting arrears paid. And I know a lot of people would have the argument, if you take someone's license, how are they supposed to work? But there's lots of opportunities before the license is suspended to resolve the issue. And even once the license is suspended, there's still options available to resolve the issue. So I know I've heard non-custodial parents in our lobby say, that we just took their license, and that's not how it works. It's a very lengthy process that, you can request a hearing and you receive multiple notices. But it's a very effective tool. For our legal actions, we're going to look at referring the case for court. Once it's clear that the non-custodial parent is not going to pay the support. So our assistant district attorney does have some criteria in place that we have to follow before we can refer the case for court. So the arrears have to be $1,000 or more. There cannot have been any payments in the last 3 months when we're reviewing the case. If the non-custodial parent signed a driver's license agreement in the last 3 months, we cannot refer it for court. If the case has been to court in the last 6 months and there was a contempt order entered, we cannot refer it for court. If the non-custodial parent has been released from jail on the child support case in the last 6 months, or released from jail on other charges not related to child support at all in the last 3 months. And if an income withholding order has just been sent, we need to wait 30 days to see if payments are going to come in from that. If there's an income withholding order in effect, even if the payments coming in are not enough to satisfy the obligation, unless it's clear that the non-custodial parent has additional income, such as tips, or that the non-custodial parent is only working part-time. We do expect him to work full-time to be able to meet his obligation.
That's the only one he has.
If there, yes.
No, I just muted her, I think.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had a question.
No, I don't think so.
If many contempts have been filed, resulting in no money being collected, then we need to look a little closer. Is the non-custodial parent disabled or unable to pay for some other reason? There can be exceptions. So, for example, the non-custodial parent owes $2,000. He did make a payment in the last 3 months, but he paid $10. That case should be referred for court. So these are guidelines to follow. These are not set in stone. Oh, there's been a payment, no contempt. They're just some guidelines for our agents to follow. Once your case is referred for contempt, it can take 6 months or more for a court date to be scheduled due to the volume of cases. For service, the non-custodial parent can be personal served, residentially served, or unable to locate. If the non-custodial parent is personally served and does not show, a default order or an arrest warrant can be issued. If the non-custodial parent is residentially served, which means we served someone at the home that he resides at, not him, but maybe a roommate or his mom. And if he does not show, the case will have to be rescheduled because we can't ask for an arrest warrant on someone we didn't personally serve.
You have a question,
Oh,
Jamaica?
of course.
Yes, ma'am. I have two quick questions.
Mhm.
The first question is, okay, so if they can't be located, if they're on probation, can they locate them with the probation officer?
Oh,
Yes. So we actually receive matches through our system to know if someone's on probation. So let's say, for example, the case goes to court and they're unable to be located. Could be a couple things going on there. The sheriff deputy serves between 8 and 5. Maybe they're not home between 8 and 5, or maybe they're not going to come to the door. So it's not necessarily that it's not a valid address. It's just this isn't working the way we're trying to do it. But we're going to look at all the resources we can. Department of Labor, Family and Children Services records. We've got access to probation. We have a system that's called Accurate where we can see real-time addresses. So we're going to look at all kinds of different things to try to see if we can find better, new, or the most up-to-date information. And yes, one of those things is contacting the probation officer.
Okay, yeah, because I was concerned about that recently. And my second question is, say for instance, the parent, the non-custodial parent, he doesn't want to pay or says that he's not paying anything. What if he gets money under the table,
mm,
or like just say say they're not paying anything?
mm.
Is that Would that be an issue, or and just
Well,
purposely not find a job?
right. So yes, it is an issue, obviously, for you receiving support. We do have non-custodial parents who work under the table. And obviously, if they're not reported wages, then we cannot attach those wages. And we do have non-custodial parents who are choosing not to make a payment. Um, that's when it's important for the case to be referred for contempt because they are in willful contempt. They are able to pay and choosing not to. If you have that type of information when your court gets scheduled or your case gets scheduled for court, you can either come to court or if you're not comfortable coming to court, you can get the information to our office so we can make sure that our assistant district attorney has that information before he puts the case in front of the judge. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, ma'am, it did. Thank
Okay,
you. I
perfect.
apologize.
Oh,
Those
no,
are
you don't. Please don't apologize for asking questions. These are excellent questions.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
those are really, really good questions. I didn't even think about that under the table question, but I have thought about it in the past because
Right.
some parents purposely choose to make money under the table so it
Yes.
doesn't get taken away.
Yes.
Did you have a question, Ava?
Yes.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
it's piggybacking off of her first question.
Mhm.
I know you said that if they're willful, like they're basically avoiding being served,
Mhm.
you can go to their probation officer.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Let's say, well, really, my question is that also the case if they're in a different state?
Oh.
It should be. I can't say
Okay.
100% that it is, but if you had a case where he was in a different state and our office is involved, so you applied through our office and we asked the other state to enforce it, then that is something that we could ask that other state if they can do that.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. Thank
awesome.
you.
Sure. If the non-custodial parent cannot be located, the case will be rescheduled for court if new information can be found, or we may have to reassign the case to what's called our locate hub. So our locate hub is a special office within the state that we assign cases to, and they check every resource that's available to try to locate new information, for the non-custodial parent. So what can happen in court? You can have a contempt order. Sometimes the cases are passed to monitor. So maybe the non-custodial parent started working before the court date. So we're going to pass it to make sure he continues with his payments. An arrest warrant can be issued, or the judge can send the non-custodial parent to jail from court. The assistant district attorney, that's a tongue twister for me, and the court specialist, we normally say ADA, and I'm trying so hard not to use abbreviations on this call because I know
Right,
it's so confusing to people.
right.
Um, the assistant district attorney and the court specialist from our office will meet with each non-custodial parent prior to court, and prior to the judge coming on the bench to determine if the case can be resolved without a hearing. So they'll try to see if there's any new information since we last saw the non-custodial parent or since we referred it for court, and try not to put the case in front of the judge because, of course, we don't want 50 cases on a docket in front of the judge. That's a lot.
Right.
And there are some cases where we can easily work something out with the non-custodial parent to get him back on track. Keep in mind, the assistant district attorney does not represent the non-custodial parent or the custodial parent. The assistant district attorney's job is to act in the best interest of the child.
And just so you know, time-wise, Tracey, we have about 2 more minutes for presentation. I don't know if we need to speed it up or whatnot. I don't want to miss any important information. I just want to give you a time check.
Okay, yep, let me speed it up. Okay. So the next one is about review and modification. So review and modification is when you have an order and you want an increase. The non-custodial parent might want a decrease. You can request these every 3 years, or we may do an agency initiated. And also, if you've had a substantial change in circumstances or the non-custodial parent has had a substantial change in circumstances. However, I do want to make it very clear that the non-custodial parent having an additional child is not a substantial change in circumstances. So because the non-custodial parent has a new relationship or a new wife or a new baby, it does not qualify for a review and modification. There is a $100 fee for the review and modification. That fee is not due until the process is over, and it is based on income. So if you request a review and you earn less than $1,261.50, then you do not have to pay the fee. And also, if you receive TANF, you would not pay the fee.
You do have one question. Are there forms available to print from the site?
Yes. So the review and modification paperwork is available on the Division of Child Support Services website. We do have the packets in our lobby as well, if you wanted to pick one up in person.
Okay, awesome.
These are our outreach services. We have access and visitation, which we use a child's world. We make referrals to them. We don't do anything with the access and visitation. But for the safety of the other parent and the children, access and visitation services will not be offered if there's any history of domestic violence. And that's something we ask about when you apply for services.
Mm-hmm.
We have our fatherhood program, which is an employment-based service that we refer our non-custodial parents to, and every non-custodial parent has to be referred to fatherhood before we refer it for court. And then our parent accountability court is basically an alternative to incarceration. So it's for our non-custodial parents who have been referred for court, and they have lots of barriers that are preventing them from paying the child support. We can assist them through our parent accountability court. That way they don't end up in jail and don't get any resources.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
That's new. So it's not new to the state of Georgia, but it is new to Chatham County. And we just held our first graduation for that court last month. And so we're about a year and a half in with that parent accountability court. So it's and there's oversight. So if, they're not participating in the way that they need to, they will be removed, from the program.
Right. Okay.
Time for questions.
Okay, so this is great. This is so good. This was so good. I love when it's a topic that really is relevant for our parents and they have questions. Before we start all the additional questions, I am going to go ahead and end this recording just so people can.
Let me
Oh,
move to the last slide real quick,
okay.
only because this has our office contact information. So I really want people to have
Right,
that
have that.
information.
No, that's perfect. So for the recording, we will end on this slide. If you have any additional questions, you can contact Tracey, and hopefully she'll be able to help you with any concerns regarding child support or any of the topics that we talked about here. This will be on our website, and this will also be on our YouTube page. If you want to join us next month, just look for the registration on our website to sign up for support groups. And we thank you for joining us. We are here to support you. You are not alone, whether you're a single mother, single father, single grandparent, or a family member helping. We are here to support you. So I'm going to say goodbye to our online family, and then I'm going to open it up to the parents on this call. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, Miss Tracy. Oh, hold on, Miss
Wait,
Brown.
one second.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right, we're just going to end the recording now, and then we're going to go into our other questions.